Well, welcome back to Steve Robb Reviews. Today I'm going to review my benchtop media blasting cabinet and what I think about it over the long haul. I've had this for over 5 years now, and should you get one of these? Well, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to media blast a couple of items here. This here is off the front of my truck. It's just like a little bit of a bumper there, and all I do is put some tape over top here, just some duct tape over top to cover this red reflector, and this is the rusted pin that goes through it. And you know, when you're on YouTube, you read a lot of comments. A friend of mine got one of these last year, a cabinet like this, and one of the comments below was, don't go past 45-50 pounds when you're using crushed glass. And that's what I use, is I use the media crushed glass. I don't use sandblasting material like the sand itself. And I got a little bit of a chuckle out of that. And my cabinet here says right on it to use 120 PSI. And I thought, I wonder how many people are reading them comments thinking 45, 50 pounds. You're not going to get nowhere. This thing's not even going to do anything with that much pressure. So the whole idea behind these cabinets is you have to have a decent size air compressor for volume. Now my air compressor will not keep up with this. I get about maybe a minute of blasting before I gotta let my compressor charge up again. So you cannot use one of these with a small little compressor, because it's not just the pressure, it's also the amount of volume of air that you're pushing through your line. And of course, the bigger line you have, the more volume you get through, and the better results you'll have. But for me, I've had quite good success with this. Now, on occasion, from time to time, the gun itself, because you're blasting in the area, the media that you knock off, like little pieces of rust or whatever, that will get sucked down that tube that's in the media blasting cabinet itself and plug up your gun, and all of a sudden you're pulling the trigger and nothing's coming out. There's no media coming out at all. You got to take it apart, and inside there's the screen, and you'll see that it's plug solid. You got to knock it all out and then start over again. So I wish these were a little better designed so that the media that's being used is separate from the you know, the new media, because after a while, yeah, you get a lot of scale and rust inside your cabinet, and it just plugs up solid all the time. So that's the bad part. But I mean, for the price, this was under $100 for me. And how often do I use it? I use it on little projects like this. Brake calipers are terrific to put in here. And I'll show you the compressor I use, and I'll show you a little modification that I've done to mine that I think most people should do. So let's take a look. So here we are, tucked in the corner here, and that's just my air compressor. And you can take a look at the specs on there. And 4.8 CFM just ain't going to cut it, but it will give you your 120 PSI. So that's what I do, and I'll show you the media blasting cabinet and some little bit of modifications that I've done that's worked out good for me. Okay, first off, you can see I got my little vacuum cleaner there, and what I've done is I put it in here. I got it up going through a valve. Now this valve, once you get it done, guys, you're never going to move that valve again, because the media will block it in one position. So you got to get it right, you know, in the first day that you're trying it out, to get the right suction. But that's what I've done. On the inside here, they usually have some kind of a filter in there, and that didn't do anything. So this cabinet by itself, nah, it didn't cut it. You know, it was at best horrible for just the way it came out of the box. I had to add a vacuum to it, and of course it's got a light inside, and you can see here that you have to change this media plastic lens on the inside a lot. So what I'll do is I'll just run these through the machine, and I'll show you what the effect is after. Well, it's all done. There it is right there, and you can see it does a terrific job. And it gets in around them little cracks that you can't really get into with like a wire brush or you know, a rotating disc or something. It does a terrific job on stuff like this. And of course, yeah, you could wire wheel this kind of stuff, but you know, it comes out great. And I spent 10 minutes tops. And you know, I only sandblast for a minute or two. I let the tank charge up again. Then I go at it again. And it's very simple. It's easy. Would I recommend one of these? Absolutely. And I've had great success with this one with a little bit of a modification. And you know what? I would just go for it if you're thinking about getting one of these. Even if you have like a smaller compressor, you can do a bit at a time. When I do a brake job and I take the caliper off, the caliper bracket itself, I put it in here, it looks just like brand new. And just like these parts here, all I do is just rinse them on a little bit of water. Make sure, like if you have a brake caliper, that all the media is outside of the threads. You want to wash them out good and that kind of stuff. But for somebody who's a do-it-yourselfer who just likes to have stuff look nice, you know, I think it's terrific. And you know what a lot of people do? I have some friends, and what they do is they send me a little piece of glass with a sketch on it. You know, just something that they want to put on their place somewhere, you know, inside of a frame. And on the inside of it is use an X-Acto knife, and they cut out just like a stencil of just masking tape. And I put it in the blaster here, and it gives a frosted effect all over. And then you pull off the masking tape, and it's got whatever design you had underneath, whether it was a message or, you know, anything like that. And a lot of them have been quite comical over the years. And yes, a lot of people use these for crafts. So it's not always like a do-it-yourselfer guy that wants to just get rust off of a, you know, an object like this or a brake caliper or that kind of stuff. I use this all the time, I guess. I would say every month, or, you know, I'm using it, you know, quite a bit. Not a lot, but I mean, for 10 minutes, look what it did. And what would I had to do with a wire wheel and scraping and everything else? This is so easy, just, you know, buzz it along and that's it, and that's great. Like I said in the beginning though, the odd time you're going to get a piece of media go inside the hose, you just got to take it apart, clean it out, and that's it. Besides that, I'm saying I love this little thing. I mean, for the money, hey, why not? So thanks for joining me here today and looking at this little bit of a cabinet, and I'm saying it's a buy. So thanks for joining me here today. If you haven't seen this channel before, well, you're welcome to subscribe and view more stuff like this. You guys take care now, eh? Cheers.